So it's at this time in his experience we have to ponder what it would be in Eris's dream. And this is it's kind of going back to the original sorry, draft of his experiences when it was with Alistar, when he had left the city, escaped a ball from the attack, and was fleeing with Alistar. Right now, I kept that in mind because I'm using that point, and there's a couple things I gotta find that I can't find. Like, there's. Where was that? I don't know if I actually wrote that down or if I thought of it. I don't remember. But it's with the entrance of the city and then the mask. The floating mask thing. I don't know. I thought I wrote that down, but maybe I didn't. I wanted to use that at some point to go back and then just kind of use all the things that were the original concept of the book. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read. Where is it? The few pages. Where, it's. And then see how I feel, and then we'll go in there. Alright. When he looked upon the sleeping old man, he saw one who carried pain for a long time. The years were carved upon his face. Though he was in this moment of pity, he could not help but have anger towards this slumbering man. What sorrow he had caused. Eris knew that this could not be the case, yet he felt deep in his back of his mind that the old fool was to cause for his suffering. Maybe not directly, but merely, perhaps by accident. It must be, he wondered. In his mind, his mind was escaping him. It was wandering farther and farther away from his control. He could feel a growing anger that rested deep within him for so long surface. He could not sleep. It was impossible. Then in just a moment sorrow took him. The memory played back again and again. His mother and father. He couldn't stop it. Over and over, again and again. It would not stop. It grew louder and more intense. You left them there to rot. You did not give yourselves for their lives. It was because of you they perished. Why weren't you smart enough to know it? He betrayed what love he ever knew to watch it as it was stripped away. It was gone, and forever would it be. He wept in his hands. Painful tears bursted from his sore eyes and fell into his filthy hands, grasping at what he could not keep inside. He expelled his soul to bear the pain of birth into a world of sorrow. When Kramos was falling fast in the twilight of the night, he finally agreed within himself that he should escape. Better to wander the dark than bear more time with him. ... His heavy footsteps followed by his frantic panting. He was lost. Dree held high in the night sky. Darkness was all he could see. Not a foot in front of him was visible. Like the length, I should maybe reword that a bit different. He reached his hands out in the hopes to feel what lay before him, a tree or otherwise. Still, he tripped often and found the ground was farther than his foot planned, at times, throwing him from his balance to either tumble down and lay upon sharp broken sticks, or if he was lucky, a shrub. The farther away he got from their hidden camp, the more he lost faith in what he was planning to do. In fact, it was in these moments between moving he stopped and asked himself, where am I going? The thought brought fear within him. He stopped for a long while and realized it might have been hours since he crept away from camp. Or it might have been minutes. He couldn't tell. His hope was fading fast, and what hope was even left? Sorry, I should word it like his hope was fading fast, or what hope was even left. Or he then fell to his knees, turning to lean against a tree, exhaling his frustrations. That was quickly followed by weeping. He could not make the thoughts go away. It felt impossible. It was like a trap he was falling into repeatedly. How can I expel these thoughts? How can I continue? I just can't believe they're gone. I didn't get to say goodbye. The words choked him. They threw him over the edge once again. He could only wallow, with no care of his being. He invited it. He wanted it. And he wanted to perish. There was no worth going on. He needed saving but could find none. How he wished his father would just appear and scoop him off the ground, wrap his arms around him and tell him it would be okay. I can't have that. Never again. What was in his grief was detaching from what was safety. Safety for himself. His whole being was shadowed and protected, now gone. He was a mess. One that could not fight for himself, and he knew this. He understood that he had no chance. Though it had only been a day since trauma struck him, going forward, this was going to be his burden. After time had passed, he felt as if a tender wound he could not allow such thoughts to find him. Not at this moment. He needed to find safety, somewhere to hide. That was all that he could muster in this moment. He then thought back of the old man. Was he looking for him already, or was he quickly asleep? Should he have stayed there, or was this the best course of action? Maybe following him could lead to an opportunity, but then Ela? Beyond the Murph? He must be a fool if he thinks he's going to make it there alive. Now, sorry. Not if he was right about them being chased, the evil that haunts them, but then again, perhaps they did stand a chance. How could Eris be found? Look how easy it is to be lost out here. Look how lost I am. And they're outsiders. He exhaled and calmed himself. It was in that moment that he realized his being alone out in the woods. What could be out waiting for him? The woods are a sacred place, he reminded himself. Standing up, he looked around to try to find a way back. If he was right about Ela, maybe it is the safest place to be. How he had anything to do with anything. Maybe. He found it hard to even believe it, but it was all he could muster. Maybe someone could understand. He focused on his steps, and slowly, one foot over the other, he tried to retrace his path back. What must have been hours went by, and he still had no luck. He was beginning to panic. His breathing became difficult. Still, he tried to focus. He needed to focus. Of all places to go, it better not be here. Alone. As he continued trying to push out the dark thoughts, he heard himself say it alone. He heard himself say it aloud. Die alone. It was a terrible thought. To perish in the dark. To be away from all in the darkest places of the mind and perish in fear. Alone. He exhaled loudly. It was unbearable. Traversing through the trees, while in the back of his mind knowing that he was lost. He tried to replace it with positive thoughts. At least they didn't perish alone. They had each other. And Dad? He nodded. He saw me. I know he did. I don't understand why, then. why they took you. Because of me. But I'll do this. I'll do this for you. I will make it out of here. His next thoughts were replaced with scanning the horizon for their camp. He could remember where it sat, but not the way. Out in the distance there was a clearing. At its center was a mass, like the shadow cast by a large stone. It lay bare and alone. He could not progress any farther. In his heart he felt he was moving farther and farther away. More and more distant, I should say. It was too long. At this point, it had been longer trying to find a way back than how long it took him to realize he needed to return. He progressed towards the mass. It wasn't until he approached that he realized it was some sort of structure. A single one that stood only a few feet taller than him. It was narrow and carved in stone. A crude carving, but it could have been from a Naku origin. He looked as hard as he could under the light of Dree gave and saw a descending stair that looked endless. Okay, let me reword that. He looked as hard as he could under the light Dree gave. Yeah, I just worded that wrong. And saw a descending of stairs that looked endless. They disappeared easily. It sent a fear throughout him. He walked around the stone and saw no other signs of what it could be. After a while, he then decided he would not enter. There is no way. He backed against the wall, fatigued, and slid down to sit. His eyes grew heavy. It had found him. The weariness did. He thought that just for a small while he would gather his strength until he could move once again. Then perhaps he would move on, wait for the break of day. It must be coming soon. The chirping and sound of bugs filled his ears, drowned out his thoughts as he was pulled into slumber. Bam! And that's the point where the dream will happen. So, conceptually, the original dream was that of the events that happened. So, obviously, when it comes to symbology or whatever the word is, we're going to recount your first mistake, and you're going to find some sort of mistake in a dark thought. So, if this is indeed your step into the real world, and you already found trauma, or trauma caused the first step in the real world, which is called adulthood, I think your first dreams are that of going back to a problem. So the dream could be about the attack in a sense, but also going back to, like when I would have those dreams about going back to school after I graduated. And they were scary. I know school is like, when you think about it, it's really not that scary. It was very traumatic for me as a child. I fucking hated it. I just felt like I was in prison. Like, how can you force me to go here if I don't want to be here? It made me realize that this world is a place that you will do what they tell you to do. I didn't realize that I had to basically be this little pawn for them. Like, you have to go to this building and learn these things. And when you learn them, you did a good job. And then you can go out and get a fucking fag job that you don't want to have. Or we can pretend like you really wanted this job. Oh, I really wanted to be a fucking, consultant or whatever those stupid fucking things are. That was traumatic. The step out of this process of education and thrown into this realm of, and we barely taught you anything that you really needed. We only taught you things that you don't need, like the sciences and mathematics and fucking proper English and all that. Fuck that. That's what we'll teach you. When it comes to going in the world, you better figure that shit out. And so you're thrust into this place that has no meaning to you and no understanding. And then that becomes your trauma. Now, yeah, I mean, people like me are more, I wouldn't say attuned to it. But trauma seems to find us easier because we, what would someone say, blow it out of proportion, I don't know. But, let me just fix this. There we go. If this dream is going to contain some sort of realism, then I have to place. Hold on. God. Then I have to place Eris in the mindset of he made a mistake. Something was wrong. I'm attaching something, by the way, just because I don't want to keep losing it. Pop filter. Just get that on there real quick. There. Now I can talk and do it better. With no problems. Anyway, so if I'm really trying to channel this and I really want to get this right, I have to understand that. Well, I'm just adjusting. Anyway, the problem is if I want to find the realism in this situation, and if I'm attaching the idea, I'm moving from this kind of form of forced education and thrust into this world where this education plays no purpose unless you have a greater opportunity. So when you have a family that has more wealth, they were able to teach you how to hold on to these fucking ideals that this world has. Well, I follow the system, and so I give you guidelines, and I give you an easier opportunity for you to follow that system too. It's not because they're better people, it's just because they played the game better. Their family incurred wealth because they were a little fucking cookie cutter too. And so they thrust it on their kids so the kids do better at school. It's when the kids come from financial ruin, like in certain families, it's because those families were disenfranchised. And then they didn't bring their kids up how to properly manage in any way their feelings of injustice and their feelings of not wanting to contribute to this fucking society. And so when a kid comes out of a family like that, they're even more lost. And that's how I felt as a young person. It just felt so fucking wrong to go to school. Looking back as an adult, it makes sense. Yeah, teach me how to read, write, and do at least some basic math and concepts and whatever. Teach me the basics of that you need as a peasant, because that's all we're ever going to be as a peasant. Let's be real, country people. But they didn't teach me anything I wanted to really learn, and when they almost did, they stopped. We don't teach anyone emotional education. We think that's more important, to learn scientifically theory and how that matters. Like, no, that doesn't fucking matter. We need to learn how to handle our emotions. Like, I was just very lost as a young kid. And I didn't know how to ask for help because I didn't know I needed help. I thought I was just like a loser. I was like, all right, well, you're a nobody, so it doesn't really matter how much you hurt. Do your job. And in some ways, I don't know if it's captured correctly, but at least in the first draft, I don't know. That's kind of how Eris is. He's just going about it. He's keeping his mind to himself, and there's some sort of curiosity within him. There's a small sense in the back of his mind that he might play an important role in something, but he doesn't know what that is and how big it is. It could be just he's the one guy that moved the person out of the way that the other person almost saved someone from dying, from getting hit by a car or something. He played a small part in a small role. One life. But I think he kind of slightly might understand that to a degree. But he does have this thing in the back of his mind that he will not think about, and I think that's realistic to put to the book. Well, he never thought of that. He realizes he might be important because of what his mother told him. Just like me in real life. Some sort of expectation. You will have this importance. And you carry that. Like, oh, well, that's what I got to keep trying for. I have this important role in my life to play. I think with Eris, just because of his, I wish I knew the word, but the lifestyle he lives is very day by day. There's not many big dreams. He thought about doing this. He thought about doing that. Like I did. I tried school for a semester. I can't believe I did that. There's a little pride that I can have there, but it didn't work because fuck math. I'm not going to sit and learn that shit for an arts degree. Like, that's dumb. I don't like math. I don't use it in my life. It's just not a part of me. Not everyone should have to follow that rule. And then that leads this anger of like, well, fucking, that's all this life is. They tell you what to do, and you better damn well do it. And that just gets ridiculous to constantly deal with. And I didn't want to. But anyway, the problem that I have, I'm assuming, is quite normal. So I don't know if everyone words it the same way or looks at it the same way, but I really think it's a common problem. This dystopian place we fucking live in. And the one bit of like fucking relief in this gauntlet is like terrifies everybody. And that could also be attached to growing up and adulthood. To which this kind of is about, this book. Not the entire book, but this part alone is his first moment of realizing well, I mean, maybe this moment of almost realizing that it can't go back. I think at this point he's probably still holding on to it might go back to normal again. It might be okay, like if I follow the rules, like they told me, like I was taught, believe in the gods and fucking listen to your elders and have respect for this and that. Maybe I can make it out. And that's his moment when he's thinking about Eli. He's like, well, if I just do what he says, and I don't know why I'm important, but maybe someone there will be able to help me understand this. And probably in the back of his mind, maybe I could save my parents, I don't know. And you see that echoed in Cyphers, because Cyphers' intention. He has that same thought. If I follow the rules that these guys set up, maybe I could find my son again. They can show me. Stringing themselves on to a thought they know is almost impossible. What's gone is gone. And the concept that this tries to explore is that concept of not accepting the fact that something can truly be gone. That it can just float away. Because I know in my life I'm constantly thinking about those moments of like childhood and just saying, how can that be gone? How is that already gone? There's no way. I don't want it to be. That's really hard to accept for like me. I don't like the thought that I can't fucking capture that again. And obviously I'm on a little bit more. I'm only in my 20s, my late 20s, but I know more than I did when I was thrust out to the world at a very late age. Like in my early 20s. I didn't go before that. I didn't want to. I still don't want to. I just do it because you have to. And that's irritating. But it's in this moment, because I'm trying to go back to how I felt. How I truly felt when I was out there. I wasn't really actively thinking deeply. It was just lack of thought, and that's why I felt happier. It was lack of, like, oh, well, what are the consequences of this? Or, well, I didn't truly learn what I needed to learn to be out here. It didn't have a thought because I didn't know how to think for myself. And hopefully I capture it correctly with Eris. That's why he doesn't react too well for himself. Is he's never had to. He's lived sheltered his whole life. He doesn't understand that he has choices he has to fucking make. And they really matter. It's just like, oh, it's the first time I ever thought for myself. Well, I'm going to do stupid shit. And it's stupid. But not at the time. So, I think with Eris, at this time, he's very unaware of his foolishness. And he's trying to be smart because he's, as they say, has a good head on his shoulders. But that doesn't mean he's not going to make a bunch of mistakes, obviously. So I think in this moment, after the reading, the dream sequence should be After your first trauma, it's going to be, how could I have made that better? How is it my fault? So, whatever this dream is about, it shall be his first dream that leads him down the path of everything's his fault. The world's mistakes are because of him. That's what I'm trying to explore. Because that's what I always thought. I encompass everything bad in this world within myself. And if we try to go back to that first moment of a trauma, yeah, you definitely do blame yourself, even if someone else causes to happen to you. So what would that dream be? That dream is just allowing you to see in a different light something that's bothering your mind. You're not actively thinking about it if you don't allow it to go to those parts of your brain where you realize, like, oh, I didn't like that. I didn't like that one bit. If you don't listen to your true self, your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, your inner voice, that shit is still in there. You're still thinking about that. You're just not allowing it to come forth. So it's trapped in your head, and that's why your dreams take on that state. You're locked into, your brain's telling you, here's what it is, by the way. And since you're not awake, I'm going to play it in a way where I'm going to make reality real quick for you as best I can in this state. I forgot the fucking rules, but I'm going to make reality, and it's going to be about that. That's what's bothering me. It's like a dream is like a vision. It could be in some ways. It could also be as simple, if you put it scientifically, that's all it is. It's just you're there's a thought in your head that won't leave, and you close your eyes, fall asleep, and then it doesn't realize it's not there. It creates a world, and it's like, okay, this is all of it, and you can look at it very scientifically and take away the beauty of it, or you can look at it, oh, it's a vision, like spiritually and all that. I think it's all the same thing. It just depends on how you want to fucking describe it. I don't think we should spend time wasting. What is a dream? Like just stop. Let's find real answers to things. But anyway, I think if you choose to look at it that way, then his problems would be, of course, that of regret and blame. So you got, what are those steps of grief? I don't remember, the 7 steps, 12 or whatever. Or is that alcoholism? I don't really remember. But we're gonna go with regret, and he's gonna blame himself. Now he will carry this blame forward. And at that point, when I read that he said to himself, I will do this for you, I will make it out of here, he's going to hold on to that. And it's almost in an unhealthy way, but he's going to take this idea of, I'm doing this for you, because they're gone, putting their spirit or putting their essence of who they were into this, I'm doing it for you. And so now anytime I'm doing this for you, becomes their wishes. So you're taking people and putting them onto ideas to further you. My parents died when I was young, so I promised myself that I will do whatever I can to better my life for them. So whenever you don't, you're not imagining, well, I failed. You're imagining their parents telling you failed, and they haunt you. That's where ghosts come from. The idea of ghosts, that they come back and say you weren't, we're haunting you because you didn't complete something. The idea of completism or whatever. So when we have Eris looking to further himself, we're walking down that path of his parents, their wishes. And so that means I kind of have to think about what his parents' wishes were for Eris a little more. But maybe he grew up like me, where his parents didn't. The wishes that his parents said is be good in school and get your ass a job. I didn't really grow up with a lot of like, well, we want you to be happy, and like I didn't hear that. So it can have confusion, like, well, is this a good idea? I don't know. What do my parents think? Because if I never get the answer, then that's my fucking ghost. Where it's like, well, did I do good? Did I do good enough? Is this what you want from me? I don't know what you want from me. You never tell me. And so you can have that problem, which I think Eris does too in some ways. So that's why half of it's there. I'm doing this for you. I can prove to you that I am good enough. I know you're not here, and I never got to prove how good I was, so let me try now. I will do this for you. With no expectation. He doesn't... hear his parents saying, like, I know what they would say if I was doing this. They'd be disappointed. I don't know what the fuck they feel. Because they're depressed. They have problems, too. So, it's a lot of confliction for Eris at this point. In this dream, probably should encompass the confliction, the confusion, his parents on the pedestal, and him blaming himself would be the steps that we should probably take for this dream. So we have to wrap our mind around, how can we do that? If in this book, the dream state, the astral state, is also this vital, important ingredient into the whole purpose of this book. That the astral realm is actually a place of, let's say, a gateway to magic. What is magic? I mean, magic can be used to alter reality, do things that are mythical, and powers and all that stuff. So what is that? That's higher consciousness, right? If I want to say that the real life is this gauntlet, it's just this terrible fucking place. These astral, if you find how to traverse it, you can pass through this astral into magic. Then this astral must be, as it was said earlier, this kind of you realizing what's deep within yourself through this dream. And on the other side of that is true knowledge. Magic, knowledge. It's the same thing. So that's kind of what we explore on like a very deep level. Like what's not on the nose, but what's definitely there. That's the point of the book, is to show this sought after knowledge, this astral through the other realm into the realm of magic, is true God knowledge. But at the same time, obviously, I'll explore the concept of that isn't for us to have. But disassociating that and realizing what is knowledge that is unattainable by man, or what should be, and knowledge that's good for yourself, that's going to be the point of the book. Should I bother myself with the complexities of the outside world? And what side am I on? And then what belief is correct? And how do you do this and that? Like, you fall into that fucking trap, but you forget how to do that for yourself. So that's a huge problem, I think, in this world we have. And so that's kind of what I try to explore in the book, is the concept of, don't go out there and seek, like, well, this movement is doing this and these people are doing that, and what is good and what is bad, and we're doing it in public, it's very perverse like that. That's incorrect. You're doing something wrong. You should work within yourself. And so when people say, what side are you on, they don't necessarily say that, but that's exactly what they're saying. Like, I believe in these rule of, I don't know, I try not to pay attention to the conservative and liberal, let's say. One's this side, one's that side. A communist versus a fucking capitalists and stuff. And then I always find myself in the middle, because it's like, you guys feel like you're doing what's right, but in reality, you're focusing on without. And that's your problem. You threw yourself into some idealism, and I don't want to. That's why I'm neutral. I'm working on my fucking self, which is way more important than my stance on gun control. Like, I don't give a fuck about that shit. I want to know why I'm afraid of guns. Instead, I don't give a fuck, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think there is a problem with the consciousness where we feel like we have to expel this fucking, or expel, I should say, this rhetoric, or this fucking, what side do you choose to be on, and all that bullshit. I don't want to get caught up in that garbage. It's within that I seek instead of without. So I don't care about the world. I don't care about the politics. I don't care about what person's doing what, and who this and who's that. Like, fuck them all. I don't care. I need to focus on me so I can be a better person. Then when I'm correct, it's like I fix my car, then I can go drive on the road. I'm not the asshole where his parts are falling all, or he's putting too much smog in the air. I fixed myself. I did what I had to do. Now I can help. Now I can help people. I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be, and that's okay, but I can learn to identify problems with myself, which is very clinical and very spiritual, so I can go to therapy and stuff like that at the same time, but also learn about myself. And so I have a better sense of self, sense of problems, where do they start, where are the roots coming from, and then I can move out and try to give aid to other people. Because therapy is a good thing. I haven't gone in a few years, but it's right now it's like I don't know if I should. Just the whole thing going on at the time it's recording, the pandemic and shit. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good idea to go out there and then put a mask on and just let's just wait. I don't know if it's ever gonna go away, or why don't I just go get the sickness and then see if I survive, and then if I do, if I didn't already have it, then maybe I have an immunity. I don't know if it works like everything fucking else. But anyway, that is just going a long way from the point of this, which is we will explore self through this book, and I will try my best. I will try my best to explore my world within this world. God, if I talk too long, I get sick. It's weird. But I think if I want to do this dream right, I have to do it right. So what is definitely going to happen is going to be this exploration that I have to do of the pedestal, the ambition, the fear, the blame. It's all going to hit him at once. And so I guess when you listen back, just try to imagine what you would feel, and that's what will be bottled up, because you have the luxury of looking back at it in hindsight. You can understand it on a level that is understandable. You're not caught up in the emotion of it. So when you read that part, and when you listen to it now, try to imagine what emotions would be stuck within you when you write the dream section. What's gonna happen? What are things that could cause trauma? What are things that stuck within your consciousness and will forever grow unless you find it? What is that? That's what you have to look for. That's what you need to truly understand. That would be the problem. And obviously, since this is a story, you have to find the bad. And it sucks, you don't want to, but you're going to have to just kind of like find the incorrect, like, first thought that you're ever going to have. Like, how do I get out of this? It's incorrect. All people are bad. I'm good. I need to stay away from people, or whatever. Or some sort of negative connotation that attaches to your view of society. This has to be the first mistake. And that's blame, obviously. And so you hold this higher standard of yourself that you have to be this perfect fucking being for everyone. And you have to be there to save everybody if they need you to save them. And you have to have people understand how much you care about them and how you throw your own life away for them. It's just that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but if you live your life only around that, it's just doom. It's just forever. I mean, you'll never find peace in that. And I think the person that does that's like, oh, that's the point. I don't deserve peace. I deserve to suffer because I've made mistakes and I have to repent for those mistakes. That's the point at this juncture or whatever that will happen to Eris. I have to repent. The beginning thought here. So this first dream is going to have that concept too of like, I need to repent for the mistakes I've made in my life, thusly, and this dream will show me the way. Because if he's always had these active dreams that he truly believes are like fucking prophetic, then that's going to be his takeaway. Okay, well then this has a point. I'm going to have to do this. There's no other way. All right, well, if that's the case, then I'll start laying the groundwork for those concepts of blame. To where some people, like, for instance, Sorry. For instance, what's his face? Vathia. That's where he holds on the idea of like accountability. I'm gonna hold these fucking people accountable. That is my job. Where Eris holds himself more accountable. I mean that obviously carries towards like his life of more inward and more reflective than outwardly. I think Eris is very internal, much like I am. I mean, if we're, I'm gonna be 100% honest, Eris is me in that situation. It's not going to be external. There's not going to be a lot of blame from without, but mostly from within. It is my fault. I am at fault for all the things around me because I didn't make them stop. I wasn't able to identify the problem. I wasn't able to solve this issue. I couldn't save them. I have to. It is my duty to save you. That's how you know how much I care about you, how much I'm willing to give away. That's where we have this kind of underlying issue with Eris. The care that he should have for himself is not there. His own safety doesn't matter because at this point in his life, just now, it's 1 day ago his whole family was killed. So he has no purpose anymore. None. And what is someone going to do when they have no purpose? So they're going to be like, well, I need to make a purpose. I'm doing it for them now, because I know no other way. I only know how to cater to people. I only know how to what's the word I'm looking for? I only know how to act in accordance to what people want me to act like. A pleaser. So as soon as you take the pleasing away, like, well, now I have no one to please. Well, I will do it beyond the grave. I believe in the afterlife. And with Cypress, there's dark reasons why he's leading him away from these thoughts in literally this place. But in some ways, that's why he fights Cypress, because he's taking him away from that comfort of I'm a pleaser. But but at the same time, he doesn't trust him. Of course, he doesn't know who this guy is. Why do I have to follow him to this place? Well, as someone who never thought for myself, Cypress is using that. No, he doesn't know anything. He'll follow you. He's never even left the city. He'll trust anybody. He doesn't even know what that feels like to be betrayed. It'll be easy, says Jaheir. Because he can read him like a book. So, I mean, that's part of the problem with Cypress. And Cypress is his whole journey himself. And I think maybe upon his waking, we'll write the perspective of Cypress. So we can kind of understand that. Like, in some ways, yes, he's this easy kid to manipulate and to make what you need. There's that little bit of regret in Cypress of like, well, fuck, I don't really want to have to do this. This is pretty fucking dark. But there's again that thought of like, well, I have to do this because I have to make a reality real. Sorry, a concept of reality. I have to make this happen. I want my son back. I'm looking to the past too. I want to repent for my sins. And if that means I have to sin one more time, I'll do it. But obviously, as it goes on, he sees his kid, and he's like, well, I have to treat him like my son. And that's his first mistake. But what's going on through Cypress's head when he's doing all this, especially in these early moments, 1 day off? 1 day from the beginning. What is he thinking? Obviously, he's trying to stay focused, and he doesn't want to allow his feelings to, how would I word it, get a hold of him and make him realize this. He has it's very easy for him to, how do I word this, to make sense of what he's doing. He doesn't like to get in the thought of like, okay, why am I doing this? How messed up can this be? No, it's just let me just focus on what I'm doing right now for this purpose. Because if I think too much, it gets too dark. And so what Cypress definitely explores in the book is the concept of being an adult and being jaded and not allowing yourself to listen to the real you, not allowing yourself to find the answers within your dreams. Like, he's definitely numb. He's definitely in pain. So his problem is that of ignoring what his body and what his mind is telling him. He's only doing what he has to do because as an adult, as you grow, that's what it feels like the reward is. Don't think too much. Don't feel too much. Do your fucking job. Go home. That's life. Do the betterment for the fucking world and not for yourself. Because you are the world. You know, that fucking bullshit. He's stuck inside that realm of the monotony, the mechanical thought, the lifelessness around you. So, growing through that for so long, it's taking this kid and he's helping him realize, holy shit. Just like when you envy the past and you finally realize why, like in my life, I envy the past so much, it's because of that. Because I hold on to that. My God, how beautiful it was, and how happy I was, and how little I knew, and I miss it, and I miss the carefreeness and all that. And so that's what is explored with Eris and Cypress. And Cypress starts to notice that, like, wow, look what it was. I can't believe that. Like, I miss that. And he slowly grows into that, but his betrayal is all that more difficult. And in some ways later on when they go to, was it at Crossroads? Yeah, it was at Crossroads when Eris left him. In some ways he wanted him to leave him. I can definitely explore the internal thoughts behind that I didn't before. So in that section I'll go and say something to that effect of like, this is kind of, I pushed him away. Because I can't do this. We're so close to our objective and I just don't want to do this. And then it's confronted by Keldig, and that's really brought forth, and she's this voice of reason. But that's all later. I think it's perfectly laid out. I just haven't got there yet. But alongside Eris, listen to this and keep in mind what you're doing with him. That's the mode of thinking with Eris. Cypress is you looking back, but actively seeking forth something you know is leading you to ruin. I'm advancing in my job. I'm doing better. I'm paying my taxes on time. Or whatever. My bills. I'm doing all these fucking stupid things that tell me I'm doing good. Because it plays back into my whole people pleasing as a kid. Now it's like, okay, like my job respects me and likes me, good. My fucking, all the people that I pay bills to respect me, and they don't, but I pretend that they do. It all matters. I'm a good person. I'm doing good. I don't do wrong. And if I do, I will carry that fucking guilt, and I will push it in my fucking face and beat myself with the fucking guilt. That's where Cypress is. And that's the older me. I mean, he's double my age or whatever, but I'm half his age, I should say. Even me being 30. No, I think he's like 42. He's like, 12 years older than me. But I just think with Cypress, he is depression. Now, Eris will be too. Eris is the beginning stages of depression where it's shock. It's trauma. It's post-traumatic stress. This is in the happenings. I have not been able to sit down and process this where it turns into post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. It hasn't turned into that. My anxiety hasn't turned on because of these problems that happened in my life where I had to learn how to cope with it and learn how to navigate through it. And it becomes anxiety. So because anxiety is just protecting yourself. Anxiety is the promise, is the whisper. It's the whole fight or flight. It's the whole well, if you're afraid of this, then don't allow that to happen. If someone's like, starting to, in a relationship, starting to make you feel lesser, or they're doing something that you don't like, you need to run from that. You have a problem with that. You need to create a barrier and all that shit you see in relationships. That's the promise. That's the whisper. That's the beginning of the darkness. Eris hasn't even reached that yet. He doesn't know his identifying traumas. Now, obviously, he probably had some growing up, but this is the biggest one. So he hasn't learned. He's just in the shit right now. There's not going to be a lot of self-reflective stuff with Eris. It's just going to, when I write him, I just try to stay in the moment. I don't try to, get reflective about it. With Cypherus, I can get reflective because he's past his hardest traumas. This is traumatic right now, but it's not as traumatic as what he dealt with before, so he has established his connection to the Whisper. So I have to play into that. He's established the promise, the anxiety, the depression, the post-trauma, the dark thoughts. He's dealt with those before, so right now he's in the phase of his life where they're actively guiding him instead of being guided by what would be instinct. He didn't get a chance to sit down and decipher his thoughts and his dreams and learn how to well, how do I know, well, where are my traumas coming from and why do I act the way I do? Oh, it's because this happened in my life and now I feel like I need to do that. He never sat down and did that. Therapy, psychological therapy. He never got to do that. So of course he's picked up very bad habits. And he's very unhealthily looking at life in certain ways that play into the idea of kind of similar to Eris. I'm doing this because I have to. I don't care how dark it is. I want the outcome for it because I made a mistake and I want to repent for that mistake by putting myself into danger to get it back. And even if that means destroying my soul to do it, to bring another soul back, I will do that too because I deserve that. So he has a lot of complex inner thoughts that lead him down that road. Because what happened to his son. That's definitely what we got to keep in mind when it comes to Cypherus as a whole. He is the modern you. He is the you that's making these active mistakes and knowing damn well he's making these fucking mistakes. He just doesn't want to admit it to himself. So you have to find a way to play into that in the dialogue or in the writing in a way where, yes, you do have those thoughts, but they don't think. I don't know how to explain it. When you're doing something bad, you're not well, I know I shouldn't do this. I know it's not right. You don't actually do that. You're actually doing it, and there's this quick I don't know if I should, and then it goes away. It's not even a thought. It's just a feeling. This isn't right. I have to find a way to write that. It's not a thought. It's not conscious. It's behind you. We don't talk about Cypherus's dreams. That's not the point. We're not giving out the answer right now. Right now, we're thrusting the reader into the trauma. You're going to watch as a person unravels. And then the next few books, you will watch them spiral. And if they're lucky, repent. But that's what we're going to be doing. And it all starts with this moment here. This has got to be the moment. The absolute fucking moment where this is everything right here. And we have to solve our problem. The reader is reading this moment and it will catch them and throw them into the rest of the book. So it has to be important. It has to be vital. And that's why listening to this over and over and over again, something will stir, something will happen. You'll hear those right trigger words and they'll start puzzle piecing together an idea, and then you'll conceptually come up with something. That's what you need to do. Find the purpose behind this. This is going to be the moment and I know it doesn't feel good. Now, when you read it back, God, I didn't go deep enough. I don't know why I feel like I need to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I didn't write it how descriptive the bugs should have sounded in his ears or how each step felt. And I'm not going deep enough, and I don't know if I ever should, but just don't focus on that. Just focus on getting that part out, as you always do. Just at least jump to it. Don't worry about how you're getting there. Just at least fucking get over there. And then we'll figure it out. There's no timeline. There's no deadline here. We're like, well, it needs to be written and finished by like 2 months from now. Fuck that. We're just doing this. And we can take 20 years. It's okay. This is the life's work. Last thoughts before I go. I always try to keep these around an hour. Well, I think just like a mantra over and over again, just listen to this until you can kind of hear what you're going to do. Take in the severity of what you need to do. Make sure you're actively aware how vital this is. Think of their psychology. Just think of where they are. Right now, only focus on Eris. We'll get to the Cypher's part later. You can use this for the Cypher's part afterward. But I want that dream to encompass everything that you've ever felt when you walked into the adult world. And all your fears before you walked into it. From not knowing how to get a license, not knowing how to just get out there and how do you know how to do these things? I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know. How do I know how to become an adult? And then you realize, wow, they don't either. Fuck. It's terrifying. I thought adults knew. Damn it, now they don't. And I don't know either. The darkness. Floating in the darkness of your own fucking bullshit. This is the beginning point of that. This is the beginning of his blame for himself. So that dream is going to encompass that. It's telling him, you're making a mistake by thinking this, but you are thinking it. And he's not going to take that. He's going to say, well, that's telling me that I am making a mistake. He's going to misinterpret it. But that's the point of this dream. You're making a mistake. The keepers are the ones that try to guide his dreams. Every dream has to have that hooded figure in it. That keeper who's trying to tell him all the mistakes he's making. Keep that in mind. What the keepers seek to do. To bring balance back to the world. And that means a life of light and dark. The dualities. That has to exist. So just remember that the keepers are guiding his path. From the distance right now. Maybe we can touch on it a little bit in this dream. Just kind of I don't know what that was I saw in the corner of my eye, the mysterious, figure. Huh. Well, anyway. I had a sinister thought about it, but I think it might not be evil. You recognize it's there, but you're not taking it serious. That must be the fucking thing behind the entire book. No, we were just wow, that might be something. I don't know what that is, but it's kind of eerie. That's what's going to happen at this point. But anyway, I'm going to end it now. I haven't done one of these in a while, so it's good to get one out and listen to it. I think give yourself as long as you need them. If you feel an itch, go do it. But if you have it started by next Tuesday, so give yourself a few days, 5 or 6 days from now. Doesn't feel like it feels like 3. But just give it a start. Today's Friday. It's going to be Saturday by the time you get out of work. You have 3 days. So just focus. But anyway, I'm going to go then. All right. Until next time.